10 minutes before 8 is the time. We'll have more of your calls and your reactions to the number of people who are being asked to shield will be extended. But ahead of chairing the UN Security Council meeting today, pleased to say I'm joined by Conservative MP and Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab. Thank you for coming on the show. What do you hope to achieve today with the UN Security Council, Foreign Secretary? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Good to talk to you. Look, when I look around the world, my experience as Foreign Secretary, there are three things that have compounded to hit the most vulnerable the hardest. That's this combination of famine, conflict and COVID. What we want to do in the UN Security Council, we hold the presidency, is bring countries together to achieve two tangible things. First of all, to get a ceasefire to allow the vaccine that we now have, which is a game changer, to be distributed and applied and administered to the most vulnerable people around the world in those particularly vulnerable areas. And secondly, to bring the world together, follow the UK lead in supporting COVAX AMC, a mechanism which provides vaccine distribution and doses, again, to the most vulnerable people. We've taken a lead. We've provided £500 million to secure 1 billion doses. We now want other countries to step up to the plate.
All right, well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well for you. Let's talk a little bit around the United Kingdom, if we could, Foreign Secretary. And there is a suggestion that Boris Johnson has been told in a private document we need a new cabinet minister for the Union, for the United Kingdom. This was a report by Lord Dunlop, who, of course, is the former Scottish minister. Is that the way to ensure the Union is safeguarded, Foreign Secretary?
I think one of the things we've learned through this pandemic is that we're better when we hang together, when we work as a team. We're focused on that through every aspect of the work we do. I know through the office we have in East Kilbride, the incredible contribution that we make as one United Kingdom on the world stage. And in fact, just to bring us back to what we were talking about in the UN Security Council, that's a great example of all nations of the United Kingdom coming together and having even greater impact as an even greater force for good in the world when we're together. So we're taking up that agenda with great vehement gusto and enthusiasm, and I think it's a very powerful one.
And you think it's a good idea to have a cabinet minister, therefore, for the Union?
Well, look, I've heard reports and speculation around that. We obviously take any suggestions with interest, but the Prime Minister is the leader for the whole Union. He takes that very seriously. Michael Gove, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, and all of our other cabinet members dealing with Scottish issues, wealth issues, Northern Ireland issues, are absolutely one team.
Yes.
So,
well, I'm very grateful for you telling me that Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister. I might have worked that out. I'm actually asking whether you support the idea of a cabinet minister for the Union.
And the point I'm making to you, Nick, is that the Prime Minister is the cabinet member for the Union. And,
so we don't need another one.
Well, we'll listen to all the helpful suggestions.
So we do need another one.
No, I said we'll listen to all. Look, we've got an agenda,
right,
which is very. The UK delivers for all of the nations of the UK. We've seen it with the delivery of the testing, the distribution of the vaccines, the fact that, for example, the military have been supporting the efforts up in Scotland and all around the UK. We should be proud of that, and we should champion that at every meeting.
I totally agree, and people such as Brigadier Phil Prosser and all the people serving under him and the NHS have done a fantastic job, and you're absolutely right, and Britain can proudly say it is a world beater. But you might not have heard comments from President Joe Biden overnight, so I'll tell you about them. By the end of July, says the President, we'll have over 600 million doses, enough to vaccinate every single American, and he wants double doses to all adults in the United States by September. That would put them a little ahead of the UK. Is it time to try and up our lofty goals, Foreign Secretary?
Well, look, we're working very closely with the US administration. I spoke to Tony Blinken, my opposite number, yesterday, and we wish them well with their vaccine rollout. The fact of the matter is the UK is leading the pack around the world. We don't regard this as vaccine nationalism at all. We just take very seriously the responsibility we've got to secure and safeguard everyone in this country. And we've made great progress, as you know, with the 15 million
phenomenal.
Ready. And the next stage that we're focused on is by the end of April, making sure that a further 17 million people have got had their first dose. That will remove 99% of those most at risk of dying of this appalling virus from that at-risk list, if you like. So that's where our focus is.
He's also talked about making teachers a priority in the cohorts because of their importance for the future generations. Are you in accord with that? Do you concur with the President's view?
Well, again, everyone will look at this from their own national circumstances. We've got a priority list 1 to 9. We're prioritising age and those who are most vulnerable. That will, of course, include quite a significant number of people in schools or other people on the front line of our emergency services. That's quite right. I think the risk-based approach we're taking, which is drawn from the Joint Committee on Vaccines and Immunisation, is the right one.
So you wouldn't agree with promoting teachers up the cohorts, for want of a better expression?
I think that the science-based approach that the Joint Committee on Vaccines and Immunisations has taken, of course, they constantly keep it under review, I think is the right one, which is safeguarding those in our society who are most at risk. I think that must be the right thing to do. Of course, we watch and learn and take interest in what other countries around the world do, and we wish them well.
We're all eagerly awaiting the Prime Minister's announcements next Monday as to the route map to lockdown. One newspaper suggests today that lockdown is unlikely to be eased significantly until daily cases drop below 1,000 a day. Is that your understanding, Foreign Secretary?
No, there are always these snippets in the lead up to a key moment like next Monday. The number of cases is important, but so is the R level. It was good to see the R level is now below 1. There's the pressure on the NHS, there's the rollout of the vaccine, and actually there are some important indicators that we will look at, but you have to take a rounded judgment on them.
So it's not cases, but I'm pleased to hear you say that, because some of my listeners are a little concerned, because initially, quite rightly, we had to save the NHS, and then quite rightly you point to the R rate, and then the number of hospital admissions, and then the number of vaccines. So if it was below 1,000 a day, and that was the sole arbiter, it would seem a little unfair. So you can be rest assured about that, Foreign Secretary.
Yes, and I think if you look at the way we approach the tiered system, the localised tiered approach before, we were always clear there were 5 factors which took into account the various elements that I just mentioned. And in the last analysis, it's a balanced judgment. You've got to take responsibility for that judgment. There's no single cast iron formula that will, or one particular indicator that above all other considerations can decide this. So we'll look at all of the indicators, all of the evidence. We know that the vaccine has had a significant role. You can see from the 7-day data on cases, hospital admissions and fatalities that we're in the right direction, and the PM will set the roadmap out on Monday.
Where are you on jabs for jobs? That is to say, the possibility that employers might decree that employees must have their jab if they're going to get their job. Foreign Secretary.
Yes. Well, look, first of all, given the rollout and the success, we encourage everyone to get the vaccine done. And I think if people are nervous about it, they should take advice. But we can give the reassurance, give them the confidence. Not only is it the safe thing to do, it's the responsible thing to do for them, for their families, for their communities, and also for their work colleagues. We haven't said it's mandatory. It's obviously for the government and Parliament to write decrees, as you said, or laws. And we've been clear that that's not the approach we're taking, but we are really advising to the hilt everyone who gets offered the vaccine to take it straight away.
But you wouldn't support an employer telling an employee they couldn't come to work had they not had the jab?
Well, the precise relations and communications between employers and employees, I think, are a matter that we would want to leave to responsible employers. But what I'm saying is that it's not the law of the land that you have to have the vaccine.
And lastly, summer holidays. People are obviously starting to get a little bit anxious. I point again to the Prime Minister's announcement, what we might expect to hear on Monday. Are we likely to be able to have staycations in the United Kingdom? Do you think late summer we might be able to... You're smiling. Late summer you might be able to... Have you booked your holiday, Mr. Raab?
I haven't for the summer, but I've cancelled enough already.
You and me both.
So I think the one thing we've all learned, Nick, isn't it, that there's uncertainty.
It's fluid. It's definitely fluid.
Fluid. I don't want to say anything which suggests that we're going to have more certainty than we can give. But the PM will set out the roadmap on the 22nd. I think that will give people a clear indication. But look, we appreciate right now, lots of people want to put that time away with their loved ones, with their families. I think it's difficult to do it right now because of the lack of certainty. We'll get a clearer sense of direction when the PM stands up and gives it on Monday.
Lastly, 4 travellers coming into Birmingham Airport sought to mislead the authorities about where they were coming from. Each have now been given £10,000 fines. The legislation was laid out. It wasn't a surprise. It does seem rather hefty, even some would argue disproportionate. £10,000 fine, Foreign Secretary?
Well, look, people, on one hand, I've had interviews this morning, people questioning whether we're too weak and some people saying we're too tough. I think that we've got a balanced approach. But look, it's a very serious thing. misleading the authorities on the passenger locator form, and with all of the risk that people, either knowingly or unwittingly, and I don't know about the facts of this case, bring in a virus with all the risk to life and limb of so many people. So we do have to take a robust approach.
Good luck with the UN. Thanks for coming on the show today. Conservative MP and Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab appearing here on LBC, where the time is 8 o'clock. And Thomas Watts has the news.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, the chair of the UK Vaccine Task Force has suggested all adults could receive both doses of a coronavirus jab by August. Ministers have set a target of the autumn to reach the whole adult population. Around 15 million people have had a first injection so far. Dr. Clive Dix, who runs the body which sources vaccines, says he's confident in the strategy.
The rate we're doing at the moment is getting us to the right place, and I don't think we should push it too hard. We should push it as hard as we can. If we say to the manufacturers, double your output to us next week, they might push their system and it might break. So we've got to do it sensibly.
Research suggests waiting lists for hospital treatment could double by April to around 10 million people in England. A study by the Reform think tank says there's a mounting backlog of treatment referrals because of the strain of the pandemic. Separately, health leaders are warning the NHS is likely to be at full stretch for another 6 weeks. Chris Hobson, chair of the body which represents trusts in England, says it's much too early to ease lockdown restrictions.